So the big focus here at the Bridge Summit is on media and entertainment, and ultimately how both media and entertainment are competing for eyeballs. Throw in a bit of marketing and advertising, and you've got quite an interesting stew. Now, one person who has literally spent his entire career at the forefront of advertising is Sir Martin Sorrell. He has probably 5 decades of experience right at the very peak of the profession. And I'm delighted to say that not only is he here in Abu Dhabi, but that he's agreed to sit down with me to have a conversation about the impact of, for example, artificial intelligence on his industry. So what do you think is going to be the biggest trend going forwards from now?
Well, I think the biggest thing that's happening, and you see it with IPG and Omnicom, you see it with Netflix and Warner Brothers Discovery, and all other things we go into, is the shrinkage of the traditional media, which you, with your pedigree in the BBC, you will know what I'm talking about, the shrinkage of traditional media and the growth of digital media. And analysts, including yourself, think about it as one industry. It's really two industries. There's a vibrant digital industry, which is $700 billion last year and growing at 10, 15, 20%, dominated by Google, Meta, Amazon, Alibaba, Tencent, and ByteDance. And then there is a shrinking traditional industry, free-to-air networks and the like, under huge pressure. So I think that's the biggest thing. And then layered on top of it, which making it even worse, is this looming specter of AI. You know, what is that going to mean for media industry, entertainment, gaming? You know, EA, $50 billion deal involving PIF directly. What is this going to mean for the industry in the longer term? So I think those two things is really one thing coming together: the decline of traditional and the future of AI, or the future impact of AI.
That must make...
I mean, just one thing to highlight it.
Yes.
IPG Omnicom, when they announced their merger a year ago, it took a year to get through regulation, their headcount was 127,500 people. They're now talking today, I saw an analyst circular this morning, of 104,000. They're going to dispose of $1 billion of revenue, which is about 4% of their combined revenue. So there's a few people going out as a result of that. But essentially, you're cutting the headcount there by about 25%.
I mean, that chimes in with the immediate fear that most people in the creative industries have at the moment, that artificial intelligence is going to mean they're going to lose their job.
Well, I think it's like the curate's egg, you know, it's good in parts.
Yeah.
And there will be parts of the industry that grow and attract more headcount. And there will be parts where revenues decline because costs. So let me run through quickly the areas that we see. Visualization and copywriting. Creating content is going to be cheaper.
Yep.
And it's going to take less time. The industry is charged on the basis of time. They're going to have to figure out some way of charging on outputs. That's one. Probably less employment, less copywriters, less visualizers. Number two, personalization at scale, what I call Netflix on steroids. If you're a Netflix subscriber, you know what I mean, the personalized content that you get. You know, when you don't finish the series, you do finish it. You know, would you like this? Maybe you like this other alternative. That is huge opportunity, creating literally millions of assets for Squid Games or Narcos, the sort of work we do for Netflix. Huge scale, big opportunity there. Third area, media planning and buying. That's 700 billion of digital, which is 70% of the total industry of ad revenue, the $1 trillion, is going to be algorithmically developed. There's no reason why you should plan and buy media campaigns other than through mathematical formula. It spits out the data, and that 25-year-old media planner will be able to, he or she will be able to make better decisions. Number of people, 250,000 a minute, it will be less. Fourth area, general efficiency. There are going to be opportunities for upping headcount and decreasing it. For example, in outside broadcasting, we, in a partnership with NVIDIA, Adobe, and AWS, can cut the cost of outside broadcasting by 80 or 90% using AI and cloud. And the fifth area is democratizing knowledge.
How ready are the big global brands?
They aren't ready.
They're not ready?
No. They aren't ready, and they're probably fearful And this is about change management. I'll go through this story just very briefly. Hubert Joly was a McKinsey consultant, went to a business in Minneapolis, incentive business, and was hired from there to become the CEO of Best Buy, the retail company, and move it from a traditional bricks and mortar retailer to digital retailer. So he goes in to Minneapolis, the headquarters, and everybody's telling him it's about change management. And after 6 months, he realizes it is about change management, and he changes the management. And that's the point. The point is, this is not about technological change. This is about change management. So getting companies, big companies, to change their processes. You get the CEO saying, I'm for change. I believe in AI change. I mean, I've talked to several of them. Underneath, the middle management is resisting change, partly to be fair, because things are pretty good. Look at Q3 for the S&P 500. EPS is up 12%. Exclude the hyperscalers, is up 9%. And the forecast for next year is 12%. Yeah. So companies are weak dollar helps, but companies are doing well. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And the other thing is turkeys don't vote for Christmas. So you're not going to get huge change until you get pressure from external. So for example, in the automotive category, in our work for both General Motors and BMW, we see the threat of Chinese EVs and AVs at $10,000 or $25,000, putting huge pressure to reduce costs. In financial services, where you get the fintech platforms like a new bank in Brazil, who are much more agile, flexible, and consumer focused, is putting pressure on branch banks like Santander, HSBC, to change vigorously. So I don't think you'll get huge adoptive AI change until you get that chill wind blowing economically that pushes people to do it.
In this period of unsettled behaviour and that sort of transition towards a sort of new AI-dominated world, how can brands choose the right way, the right platform to get eyeballs? How can they build ultimately?
Well, I think it's becoming more and more concentrated. If you look at the structure of that $1 trillion of ad spend, 700 billion in digital, 300 billion in traditional, Google is 250 billion, so it's 25% of the whole and a third of the digital. Meta is 150 billion, 15% of the whole, 20% of the digital. Amazon is 60 billion, 6% of the whole, 8-9% of the digital. And TikTok outside China is 40 billion, 4% of the whole, and about 5 or 6% of the digital. Those four platforms, including TikTok outside China, are 500 billion between them of the trillion, so it's 50%, or 5/7 or 70% of the digital piece. So it's huge concentration. Now those hyperscalers and some others like NVIDIA and Microsoft and Apple and Adobe and Oracle and Salesforce are all spending and Musk and everybody, Altman is, in my view, part of Microsoft. They're all spending, well, they will be spending next year 530 billion on CapEx around digital and AI, about AI, energy, data capacity, etc. They're intensifying their grip on it. So the platforms are going to become more and more important. Now, I got chastised for saying the job of the CMOs has got simpler recently. And maybe, I think it has, but maybe it hasn't, just to defend myself. But no, I think it has. And I think it's going to get simpler.
I mean, in that scenario, are you saying that essentially only digital marketing matters?
Yes.
There's a simple answer.
That would get me into even hotter water than I am. The answer is to a large extent, yes. I mean, if 70% of spending, when I started S4 8 years ago, it was 50, 55. Now it's 70. We forecast by 2030, it'll be 80. So, ultimately it'll get to 100%. It can't go any further. But it, and everything clearly will be digital or digital influence. But that is where the game is being played.